How to grow your arms fast. Now, in my first year of weightlifting or the gym, I had very skinny arms. Like, I'd say they were about like 10 inches. They were so skinny. Like, I had very skinny arms. They were so skinny that I could like I could fit my like hand around them, and I couldn't even see the bicep and the tricep or any definition. They were so skinny, and that made me so sad, man, because I always wanted big arms, like those big huge arms. They were always so skinny. So I went on YouTube and I researched, and I found that every single guy, or every single like science-based guy, used to say that volume is king. If you want to grow a muscle, you need to do more volume, right? So I did that, and I was training push-pull legs 6 days a week, which is honestly like excessive for someone who's been training for 1 year, and that did a lot of problems for me. But I digress. I was doing push-pull legs 6 days a week, and I was doing for my arms 12 sets per week. Now, you might think, or someone might think that 12 sets a week isn't that much. I was doing 12 sets a week, every single set to failure. Like, I was doing like 2 exercises, 3 sets each on every workout, at the end of every push and pull workout. And what happened? My arms barely grew. They barely grew. And surely you would think that if I did more volume, my arms would grow, because I'm focusing on them and I'm giving them more like work, so they're supposed to grow more. They didn't grow at all. In fact, I had a torso dominant physique. I had a physique where my chest and back were big, and my shoulders, but my arms were still like very skinny. So why did this happen? The thing is, when I used to do like 3 sets for a workout and every single set to failure, it was literally impossible to progressively overload, because first of all, my arm muscles were always fatigued. They were always sore, and I would train them while they were sore, which is a very bad idea. And I would used to do so much volume that I just didn't need, because keep in mind, your arms, they don't only work in isolation exercises, they also work when you train chest and back. So doing 12 sets is honestly excessive. It is so much, and I just couldn't decrease the weight. I used to always do the same amount of reps, and I would think, oh, I'm training to failure, so my arms would grow because I'm training to failure. They didn't, because I wasn't able to progressively overload. So, how did I actually grow my arms? There's 3 things I did. And the thing is, I thought that 12 sets, just like all the guys were saying, was the lowest thing I was doing. So I increased my sets to 20 sets per week for arms. I did push-pull legs and an arm day, so like so much volume. And what happened? My arms didn't grow, because I did the same exact weight for the same exact reps, and I didn't progressively overload. And progressive overload is literally the single fastest way to gain muscle, period. It is the fastest way to gain muscle. And I was doing like so much junk volume that was useless, and I wasn't progressively overloading, and that is why my arms stayed the same. They didn't grow at all. So how did I grow? To understand is lower your volume. You need to lower your volume, especially for arms. I'm telling you, I used to do push-pull like 6 days a week with 12 to 20 sets per week for arms, and my arms didn't grow at all. But now I train full body just twice per week, and I do 1 movement for triceps, 1 movement for biceps at the end of each full body workout, and 1 or 2 sets per exercise. But I take those exercises to failure and I progressively overload on them. And I'm telling you, when I did this switch from doing so much volume without any progressive overload or training to failure, to just 1 or 2 sets training to failure with progressive overload, my arms, I have never seen my arms grow this much. I'm telling you, bro, this is the key. So lower your volume, increase the intensity, especially for arms, bro. The first thing I did to grow my arms is low volume. I lowered my volume so much. That is the first thing. I only do probably 2 sets or 3 sets per week for biceps and triceps. But this is why those sets are so effective, because of the second thing, which is intensity. You need to take your sets to failure. You need to. And when you take your sets to failure, you maximize the growth. Like, I'm telling you, bro, 1 set to failure, 1 set to true muscular failure where you can't get another rep is way better than 5 half-ass sets where you don't go to failure. It is way, way, way better. Like, I don't get it. I'll explain to you why this happens. Like, this is what happens when you train to failure. This is like the scientific shit, you know? And I've said this a lot in my videos. This is basically like motor unit recruitment. Okay, and this is 0 and this is 100. So this right here is not training at all, not training intensely at all, and this is to failure 100%. What you do when someone trains with reps in reserve, which is basically like useless, it's so useless and so bullshit, they stop right here. They stop at this place. They don't get the bigger and more motor units. They stop at the smaller and less motor units. So what happens? They don't grow their muscles at all, and they compensate with this with doing more volume. So they do, instead of 1 set to failure, to the maximum growth you can get, they do just 5 or 6 sets, but with reps in reserve. They stop short, which is basically useless. You can get all this in just 1 set. All right? And I'm telling you, bro, intensity is the primary driver of muscle growth. It is. It just is. All right? Training to failure is the primary driver of muscle growth. Like, I always give this example, but it is so true. You could go into the gym and do 100 sets for your chest with 100 reps, but with those very, very light weights, those 2 kilogram weights, those very, very light weights. And you will get a huge pump, you'll do so much volume, but you won't build any muscle. But at the same time, you could do just 1 set, like I'm telling you, 1 set or even 1 rep, as crazy as that sounds. But if it is the true muscular failure, you will maximize muscle growth on that 1 set. So intensity is the primary driver. I'm telling you, bro, when I switched from push-pull legs, 12 sets to 20 sets per week, not training to failure, to just doing 2 to 4 sets per week, all right, per week for my arms on 2 full body sessions, I have seen the most growth in my arms I have ever seen in my life. Okay, so that's the second thing, intensity. The third thing is, you probably guessed it, progressive overload. the reason my arms wouldn't grow at all was because I was just doing the exact same weight. I remember this. I was doing preacher curls and incline curls, the optimal exercises, like they get the stretch and all that. But I was doing them for 10 kg and I wasn't able to do any more than 10 kg. I was just stuck on that because I was doing so much volume. And right now, I curl 18 kilograms, but I do barbell curls. But if I do dumbbell curls, I do 18 kilograms, and my biceps have exploded because I can lift heavier than I did yesterday. And this is the key. You will never find someone who can curl a lot of weight who doesn't have big biceps. And the same thing with triceps, of course. Like I used to do skull crushers for 10 kg also. Now I can do them for 18 kg. So my triceps have gotten so big because I increased the weight. This is the most important thing. Not volume, not anything. The most important thing is training the muscle to failure and progressively overloading. It is that simple. So of course, the third thing is progressive overload. Now the fourth thing I did to grow my arms, but it isn't really that important. Like this is the most important thing, is doing less volume, training the muscle to failure and progressively overloading. The fourth thing is basically the exercises. Now I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna tell you the optimal exercises that you should do, there's the one and all best exercise. You can do whatever exercise you want as long as you are taking that exercise to muscular failure and progressively overloading on that exercise. But you can make this easier and you can leverage this by doing barbell exercise, which is what I do right now. I only do 2 exercises for my arms. The first one for biceps is barbell curls, which I've seen tremendous growth with. I used to be able to do barbell curls with just 20 kg. Now I do them with 30 kg. And my arms have gotten very big from that. Because why I do barbell curls is the progressive overload is so easy and simple, because you're just adding weight to a bar. You don't need to add a lot of weight to dumbbells. But of course, that's personal preference. You could do whatever exercise you want. Barbell curls and barbell skull crushes, when you lie on a bench and you do those skull crushes with the bar, also 30 kg, made my arms very big. So these are the 4 things. Lower your volume, please do less sets. I promise you, when you do less sets and you take those sets to failure and you progressively overload on those sets, and you do your exercises, your arm exercises, your arms will grow. I'm telling you, bro. Now there's this idea that if you train with compound movements, you don't need isolation exercise, or your arms will grow from compound movements only, not from isolation exercises. And I think that is true. That is very true. I'm gonna be honest, what actually grew my arms is progressively overloading on the big compound movements, not the isolation exercises. Of course, isolation exercises are very important, but 80% of your arm growth comes from progressively overloading on the big compound movements. And that is actually very true. Because your compound movements, your chest presses and your rows or pull-ups, they train your biceps and triceps very hard. The biceps and the triceps are one of the main movers in those exercises. So when you progressively overload on those exercises, you get bigger arms. It's just like if you want to grow your quads, for example, if you want to grow your quadriceps, You don't do leg extensions, you do squats, right? And squats is a compound movement that trains your quads and your glutes, right? The same thing with arms. If you want to grow your arms, you focus on compound exercises. But the main thing with the compound exercises is you take those exercises to muscular failure and you progressively overload on them. Right? This is the key. This is the key to getting big arms. Not doing 20 sets per week, not doing 100 sets. Please, if you just want to take one thing from this video, don't focus on volume, focus on intensity and progressive overload, because that is what will actually build muscle for you. I'm telling you, bro. Not doing 20 to 50 sets per week like all those science-based guys say. Just do 1 or 2 sets to muscular failure or even beyond and progressively overload on that one set. Okay, it is that simple to grow your arms. And pick any isolation exercise you want. You could do like me, barbell curls and skull crushers. But honestly, just pick any exercise you want if you are training to failure and progressively overloading. And I really want this video to help you, bro, because I know how much it sucks. It sucks to have those small, like really, really small arms. It just sucks. And it simply comes down to picking just 1 or 2 exercises, 1 for biceps and 1 for triceps, training them to failure and progressively overloading on those exercises. It is that simple. And if you do that, I guarantee your arms will grow. All right? Hope this helps. And as always, I love you, bro. And I'm rooting for you. Peace. Take care.